dot in a red state, trying to talk some sense. Always shoots it straight, he don't straddle no fence. A common man with a real plan, he's a friend to you and me. A long shot from the Lone Star, he's the voice that we need. Better vote like there's no tomorrow, 'cause friend, our future's on the line. We can't stay silent and we can't back down. We can't sit this one out this time. If you want a man who'll take a stand, talk straight and walk tall, it's time to ride or die and get behind old Texas Paul.
Morning, folks. Welcome to the under construction edition of Sunday Coffee with Texas Paul. Hope your coffee's as good as mine. Man, that is good. Well, folks, as you can see, we are under construction here, and I wanted to make a special announcement just to start everything off. Next week, we are going to have an amazing change to Sunday Coffee with Texas Paul. We're undergoing some rebranding, and next week I will not be the host. I will be the co-host of Sunday Coffee with Texas Paul, actually the rebranded version of it. We've got a guy coming in that is incredibly talented. I'm talking multi-talented, multifaceted. You love the guy. It is going to be amazing, but you got to wait till next week to find out who it is. I'm telling you, this guy and I, we've got great chemistry, work great together. It is just going to take this show to a whole new level, and I hope you can be there. So let's get into it. Fuck Ted Cruz. No other way to put it. Fuck Ted Cruz. He was on any media source that would put his fat pig face on. And he was talking about how, we liberals couldn't stand the immigrants being up at Martha's Vineyard. And if you're not aware of what he's talking about, Ron DeSantis, another piece of shit Republican, just played games with people's lives. He sent someone to San Antonio, Texas, as it's being reported, to find immigrants, asylum seekers, people that were here in the country seeking asylum, which means they were here legally, folks, because it is legal to seek asylum. They committed fraud. They lied to them. They told them that they had jobs waiting for them up in Boston. And again, this is just how it's being reported. I cannot wait for this to come out in a trial. That they had jobs waiting for them up in Boston and housing. So they coaxed them onto a plane and they sent them to Martha's Vineyard. Funny, ha. They thought it was a joke. Boy, all the right-wingers are just getting their jollies off on fucking with the lives of 50 families. I mean, we're talking children, folks. Very young children ended up on this plane going to Martha's Vineyard. They didn't know where they were. They had no jobs waiting for them because it was all about the gimmick. These cruel, heartless, piece of crap Republican bastards never called ahead so that anyone could be there to meet them. They get off the plane and they're walking around the town, just lost. They're just walking around the island, lost. I mean, the person they were told would meet them and all the contacts, it was all bullshit. It was complete fraud. So one of them finally walks up to a police officer and they immediately find out what's going on, and they contact all the people that are lost, and they get their group together. And the good people, this is the difference between a Republican and a Democrat. The good people of Martha's Vineyard took them in. They clothed them, housed them, pardon me, not clothed them. They housed them. They brought clothes. They thought they were going to work. They housed them. They fed them. They embraced them literally. They were glad they were there because they weren't under the control of a total dictatorial dick like Greg Abbott or Ron DeSantis. I mean, folks, it's incredible. It's incredible the way the right-wing mind works. To them, this was great. Why? Because they thought they were screwing us over. Like they were doing something to us. They were owning the liberals. Well, that's bullshit. I know nobody that's upset about it. Everybody I know, including the immigrants, are happy that these people are no longer under the bullshit fascist control of Greg Abbott and Ron DeSantis, because this is the kind of bullshit they do. Here in Texas, it's even worse. It's even worse. Greg Abbott emptied the Briscoe Unit jail, which holds felons, emptied it. Where he sent everybody, we don't know because they're fighting the FOIA requests. And the ones that went to the private prison system, which is what I suspect this is a boondoggle to make money for his private prison buddies, because Abbott is like this with his private prison buddies. The private prison companies really don't have to respond to FOIA requests. FOIA requests are for the government. They're a private contractor. They only have to turn over very limited information. That's why it's so hard to regulate these private prisons. But anyways, back to the story. So that's what happened. Well, the good folks of Martha's Vineyard got in touch with the federal authorities. And the federal authorities got these people more permanent housing at Joint Base Cape Cod. They had bunk space for them there. They brought them over there so that they could be together as families, moved them 8 total miles from Martha's Vineyard to Joint Base Cape Cod, brought them in counseling. They could provide them services there. It was easier to feed these people, just easier to take care of them. So what does Pigface Cruz do? What does Pigface Cruz do? He goes on every media show possible and says, oh, we liberals couldn't take it. We couldn't even handle having these people around for a day, but they want Texas to deal with these people all the time. Well, yeah, the federal government pays Texas to deal with the immigration situation, but Republicans can't do it. Republicans can't govern. They can't do it. First of all, Cruz lied. We handled it just fine. We took care of these people. We are am I my brother's keeper party? Hell yeah, I am. Hell yeah, I am my brother's keeper. We did right by these people. We got them counseling. We got them legal counsel. And these people are going to be just fine because they're in the hands of liberals. They're people that came to America to live the American dream, and they are going to have a bright future. Why? Because they're not around Republicans anymore. Think about that. Think about that. The difference, every one of these idiots you ever hear talk about both sides. Oh, the parties are the same. There's no difference between Democrats and Republican. Bullshit. Bullshit. And you need to tell them that's bullshit. Got my Proud to Be American cup today. Folks, I collect cups. This is one I had to use today because today I am very proud to be an American. The way we handled the situation, the way we handled 2 fascist jackasses abusing people, committing fraud. What Abbott did was even worse. He sent 2 busloads of people to the Naval Observatory where Kamala Harris lives because he was all butthurt because Kamala Harris came down here and said, we don't have an immigration problem. These are good people. Why are you putting good people in a prison? We don't have an immigration problem. We have a leadership problem. And Abbott got all butthurt, so he's been sending busloads of immigrants to the Naval Observatory. These are people. These are going to be our fellow Americans. And he's treating them this way. There are no services at the Naval Observatory. And of course, he called the media. He didn't call anybody that could meet them. But immediately, the churches stepped up. People stepped up. The government stepped up. Everybody's taking care of these people but Greg Abbott, who gets paid to take care of these people. You know, the federal government spends a lot of money down here in Texas to help with this. And it's not right. Don't get me wrong. The immigration system's broken as hell. The Republicans won't let us fix it. If the Republicans would just give us a handful of votes, we Democrats would fix the immigration system tomorrow. They would. They would come in on Monday morning and they would have this fixed. The Republicans won't let us because they want this talking point. They want to talk about caravans of people. You know, let me ask you something. Do you go to countries you hate? Not unless your job forces you to, but I mean, do you ever go to countries you hate? No. And if you're going to relocate, willingly relocate, are you going to go to a country you hate? No. No. You're going to go to a country that you want to live in. You're going to go to a country that you love. That's these people, folks. These are our, as soon as the process is over, are going to be our fellow Americans. And these right-wing Republicans want to call them invaders. Why? Because their roots all go back down to racism. They're all tied to these right-wing, racist, xenophobic groups. All of them. It all goes back to this sovereign citizen bullshit. You know, you've got a group called the CSPOA, the Constitutional Sheriffs and Police Officers Association, Peace Officers Association. And they're headed by this guy. He's been part of the sovereign citizen movement forever. This guy inspired Timothy McVeigh, who bombed the Oklahoma City bombing. This guy's lawsuit over the Brady Bill and his rhetoric about the evil government that came out of the Ronald Reagan era. You know, I don't know if anybody, you know, you folks that are out there that are old enough to have lived through the Ronald Reagan era, you heard that dystopian, irony is not the word. You know, you had the president of the United States bad-mouthing the government of the United States constantly. And it created this entire sovereign citizen movement. These are people that don't believe the federal government has any authority over them. They don't believe the United States government has any authority in their lives whatsoever. They're insane. They're crazy people. And that's the fountain that all this blooms out of. You've got a governor in Texas and a governor in Florida that both hate government. Yet people elected them to run the government. And this is what you get. Cruelty. You get them treating people like shit. You get them lying to people. You know, you got this, and this is the only thing that I have to say chaps my ass, where they really trigger me, is that Abbott dared call this program to get himself reelected, this boondoggle, this law enforcement boondoggle here in Texas. He called it Operation Lone Star. Well, friends, I'm from the Lone Star State, and for him to co-opt that name disgusts me. It disgusts me because nothing Abbott is doing in this Operation Lone Star has anything to do with the state of Texas. This is all about Greg Abbott and Greg Abbott getting reelected. It's a complete and utter failure. It's such a failure that they're having to count crimes committed all over the state and put them under the totals that they pull up for Operation Lone Star and pretend that they were crimes that happened at the border. And people don't know anything about the border. If you don't live at the border, you don't understand it. You don't know about it. You don't. You really don't know that it's just people. It's just people. You know, yeah, there are some drug traffickers and stuff like, but they're drug traffickers that send their drugs through the ports in LA and Long Beach just as much as they do coming through the South. I mean, in fact, they had a fentanyl bus that came through California, ended up in Dallas. Abbott counted that under Operation Lone Star. He spent $4 billion and claims to have arrested or stopped 300,000 illegal immigrants, which is a lie because he's counting what Customs and Border Patrol does, which it doesn't count in that $4 billion. The way he spent $4 billion, folks, is, again, he didn't give a shit about people's lives. He activated the National Guard, and he took all the people that are in the National Guard. And you have to remember, the National Guard, these are people with regular lives, jobs, families. Activated them and sent them to the border, where they're walking around with their thumbs up their butt because they don't have the legal authority to arrest people. Literally, it's all for show. He sent DPS officers that were doing their job as police officers in the counties that they worked in and sent them to the border. Wasting money. We've got, people are just now starting to tear this apart and look into it. We've got body cam footage of officers. Most of the arrests that have been made down there have been bullshit trespassing charges. And these people are being sent to a prison for this. A prison that normally housed felons. I mean, think about that. Think about that treatment. I mean, it's disgusting. It's just disgusting. But anyways, we've got body cam footage of this officer, which I use the term loosely, coaxing an asylum seeker through a gate. He walks through opens the gate, walks through it, and tells the guy, "Come here." As soon as the guy steps across the gate, he arrests him for trespassing because that's private property. I mean, come on, people. Is this really what we want our government doing? There are towns in southern Texas that don't have reliable drinking water. There was a gentleman that showed up at a Beto O'Rourke rally who was in tears, begging. He said, "I'll vote for you. I'll do anything. I'll do anything." My town and the towns around us, he was talking about Las Colonias in southern Texas, don't have drinking water. And then you've got Pig-Faced Cruz, who's supposed to be the senator here in Texas, running his mouth on television shows, not doing his job. And I want to tie this to something else. You've got that cruelty, not doing their jobs. We're going third world here now in Texas. These Republicans have run things for so long, not doing anything, not improving infrastructure. Like Odessa in the middle of summer in a desert. Odessa's in a desert, folks. A Texas desert gets well over 100 degrees. They had a water main break. The entire town was out without water, without notice for 2 days. 2 days in over 100-degree heat with no warning. And no water. Why? Republicans. That water main was due to be replaced years ago. It had outlived its life cycle. It was due to be replaced a decade ago. But it didn't happen because Republicans, especially on the state level, don't do their jobs. They just don't do their jobs. And I want to tie this into something. We just had another outburst from Marjorie Taylor Greene, where she was making fun of electric airplanes. Well, yeah, folks. They've been working on replacing jet engines, which do nothing. I mean, think about it. It's a jet engine. It does nothing but spew exhaust. I mean, that's how it creates its power, is literally spewing exhaust. They're extremely dirty. You've had companies working on building commuter planes, the short distance planes where you fly from like Dallas to Houston or Dallas to Denver. I mean, short flights. They're the little planes we get on before we get on the big planes. If you fly, you've flown on commuter planes. There have been companies that have developed electric commuter planes. And it's wonderful. They're zero pollution. They're quiet as hell. I mean, they're wonderful planes. The Canadian government Canada Air, the main airline in Canada, just bought 30 electric planes. Did they buy them from an American company? No. Did they buy them from Hart Aviation down here in Arlington, Texas, who was competing in that contract? No. Did they buy them from Xenom Aviation up in Seattle? No. That's a Boeing-backed company. Well, where was Ted Cruz? Oh, yeah. Playing fucking games, torturing people that are going to be American citizens soon, treating them like shit. That's what he was focused on. Culture war bullshit. Meanwhile, jobs that Marjorie Taylor Greene, who was on television, just blabbering her mouth off about electric airplanes and how people are going to have to pedal like they're going to have like little bicycles and you're going to have to pedal to make the plane fly. Bullshit. Like she's never heard of a fucking battery before. Like we didn't spend the last 2 decades improving battery technology so that we could create things like these planes. She has no idea. She's an idiot. She doesn't understand anywhere near where we are technology-wise. Marjorie Taylor Greene, was she fighting for jobs for her district? No, she was doing this culture war bullshit. Was Ted Cruz here in Texas? I mean, hell, Hart Aviation is here in Texas. Was he fighting to get those jobs? To build those planes here? No. Swedish company got it. Swedish company got the contract. 30 planes. So literally one of our best allies bought planes from Sweden instead of us. I mean, where they could get the parts and service like right here. They bought Swedish planes. Think about that, folks. Think about that. I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat. Think about that. These people don't care and don't do their jobs. They don't care about government and they don't care about you. If you don't believe me, go take a look at the video of Marjorie Taylor Greene kicking someone who was trying to ask her a question. They were walking down the sidewalk. A young woman was walking in front of them. She was asking a question over her corner. Marjorie Taylor Greene didn't like being questioned, and she kicked her twice. That's an assault, folks. If she'll do that on camera in front of people, imagine what she'll do to you legislatively. That's what these people are. So I'm telling you, folks, I am telling you, vote Democrat, Vote Democrat. Vote Democrat. We're less than 2 months away from the election. Check your registration. The deadlines are coming up here in Texas. You only have a few weeks left to correct your registration if it's wrong. The deadline's coming up, folks. The deadline is coming up. And please, hit that subscribe button. It means the world to me. I like to create jobs here in America, unlike Ted Cruz and Marjorie Taylor Greene. Hit that subscribe button. It doesn't cost you anything, but it means the world to me. And if you can, support us down there at TexasPaulMerch.com. Love you guys. Thank you for being here. Come see us next week. The show is going to be amazing. We're rebranding it, bringing in, I'm going to co-host it with another guy that is just super talented. It's going to be a surprise, but he is just super, super talented. You're going to love him. And we are going to sit back and we're going to tear these issues apart. This is Old Texas Paul out. I hope you have a wonderful Sunday. Enjoy the games.